Fargo slips out of a few tackles, and Peter Hago left for the races. I'm doing up for the team. Sheds the first defender, sheds the second defender.
Busted open. Jack Smith down the right sideline and into the end zone.
Football's back. How awesome is this? Welcome to the season premiere of Varsity Sports Live. I'm David Brown. That's Jason Andera. We are back live in color and better than ever.
And it's feeling like football season. Early season football, you know, there's definitely some improvement made from now to the end of the season.
Yes.
But I'll tell you what, it just felt right to go out on a Friday night and collect some highlights and show them to you guys.
Got a lot to get to. Let's start with the scores here in South Dakota. Number one, Sioux Falls Lincoln, 43-7 over their crosstown rivals from Sioux Falls Roosevelt. Highlights of that one coming up. Game of the night in South Dakota. You were in Harrisburg, Jason Andera. 28-21 Jefferson in the title game rematch in overtime.
Well, we'll talk a lot more about how this one unfolded, but a lot of turnovers in this game, but two teams that are very tough, and I think we're going to see a lot of 11 AAA ranked teams play games like this year. That's how tight this class is.
Highlights of that one coming up soon enough. Brandon Valley and O'Gorman, the Dakota Bowl, that will be on Saturday. The early game at Howard Wood Field, Sioux Falls, Washington, taking care of Rapid City Stevens, 27-7. Out west, Sturgis, 11 AA over 11 AAA over Rapid City Central, 22-7. Moving to 11 AA as a whole, Pier, no problem with Aberdeen Central. Kate Kaiser, 5 touchdowns in a shutout win for the Govs.
Yeah, picked up right where Lincoln Kienholz left off. A good win on the road for Pier to start their season as they try to go for their 7th consecutive title, something nobody's done since the Dome era.
It's been the Pier and T show the past couple of seasons, but how about T? They survive a scare against Huron, 27-26. Huron scores with 13 seconds left, goes for 2, does not get it. Give the Tigers credit for going for the win, but it is the Titans just barely hanging on.
You know, we're looking for teams in this class that might be able to make a push. Huron maybe is that team. T area has a little work to do, but they get the win on the road.
42-0 Yankton over Mitchell down in southern South Dakota. And everyone in the media, please apologize to Jason Andera. The media had Brookings number 4, you had Watertown number 4, Juven Hudson and you say, how about the Arrows?
You know what? You know, you never know how this is going to play out. It might look bad in the end.
But I
do believe that Watertown is a team to contend with. They're definitely a semifinal type of team in this class.
Spearfish all over St. Thomas More. That one's still in the fourth quarter out west, 44-21. In Class A, number 1 Del Rapids, no issue with Madison, 44-13. Number 2 West Central, they will play Custer on Saturday. It's a 4-3 as Canton defeats Sioux Falls Christian 30-16.
This one got close for a while. We've got highlights of this one coming up, but Sioux Falls Christian definitely going to be a contender, but these Canton Seahawks, they might be better than people think.
21-0 Dakota Valley blanks Vermilion down in southern South Dakota. In 9-man football, well, first Lennox over Chamberlain 42-29.
That was a close one with two quarterbacks that are very good, and in the end, Lennox pulled away. We've got highlights of that one coming up.
Yep, skipped ahead a little bit. Winner with the 46-6 win. Good to see Winner score more than 8 points in the game. I'm sure they feel good to get back on
good
track.
Bounce back win for the Warriors after last week's double overtime game against Tri-Valley.
Now we move on to 9-man. How about this? 9A Canastota over 9AA Howard, 30-18.
And this is why these early season matchups, we're just not sure how these teams are coming into the season, but it looks like Canastota might get a little bit more recognition after a big win like that.
And the defending 9AA champs from Wall, they fall tonight 22-12 to Phillip.
There were several people I talked to that said, watch out for Phillip. This is a team that brings back almost all their starters. They were competitive last year. A big win for the Scotties. That's going to put them on the map in 9A.
The 9AA champs fall. So do the 9A champs from Gregory. They fall to Woolsey-Wessington 48-32. We don't have it on here. Hitchcock-Tulare also lost tonight to Falkton. All the 9-man champs from last season lose this week.
Yeah, that is definitely a surprise because we didn't know what to expect, especially 9B. You know, we had Del St. Mary go down. We had Hitchcock-Tulare go down. We had DeSmet go down. It's just chaos in 9B right now, but we'll also look at this 9A big game in 1 second.
42-6, Hamlin over Del Rapids St. Mary, your other final from 9-man football. And, of course, lots of big surprises early on in week one, but also some things that you kind of expected to see.
Well, there were a few things that we expected to see, and one of those was the Lincoln Patriots were going to be very effective passing the football, and they started the season out like that.
And let's get a look at those highlights. Lincoln and Sioux Falls Roosevelt early. Tate Schaefer on the run. Check out this throw into the end zone. Touchdown early for Lincoln. They lead at 7-0. And then they just put it on cruise control pretty much from there over Roosevelt. 43-7 is your final. We had Isaac Jarofsky with a touchdown. Jack Smith had a touchdown. Draven Hodge. Basically, everyone you can account for as far as skill players on that Lincoln Patriot team from last season doing business again tonight.
And on the other side, Roosevelt didn't quite get the flow that they wanted to on the passing game. There was a lot of running, a lot of quarterback running. I think they'll evolve through the season, but the Patriots looked really good to get things started.
So number one, Sioux Falls Lincoln looking every bit the part, 43-7 tonight over Sioux Falls Roosevelt. But let us get to the game of the night in South Dakota. Number 4, Jefferson. Number 2, Harrisburg. In the first quarter, Sam Knuth, first touchdown pass of his career to Titan Tryon.
Yeah, Titan Tryon is a matchup nightmare, and they came out right away in the first quarter, got things going. And then Ethan Swenson, also a new quarterback for Jefferson, gets things going with a nice dart on a play-action pass to Dawson Sexer. And just like that, we're all tied up 7-7. We're going to have full highlights coming up soon. They didn't quite get all the way through, but we'll talk more about this game in a second. But let's get to the side at the end of this game where Thomas Heiberger was excited. He played a big role in this game offensively and defensively.
Just react how we always do. You know, we're never going to ride the wave. That's kind of what we built up these last 2 years, and we knew we were going to be in a 4-quarter nail-biter in this game, and so we were prepared for that, and we just continue to trust our teammates throughout the game no matter what.
Well, as he said, obviously very excited. You mentioned Dawson Sexer. He had the overtime touchdown as well. Mainly a guy they relied on defense last year. They wanted to be more of a two-way player this season.
Yeah, he was taking direct snaps in short yardage situations, something I thought maybe Thomas Heiberger would do, but they really used the couple quarterbacks very well. On the other side of the field, Harrisburg had some trouble turning the ball over. I think 4 turnovers in this game. They kept getting into great field position right before half. They were ready to score and couldn't punch it in. So this is a team that had a lot of opportunities to score, only got the ball in the end zone 3 times, all 3 to Titan Tryon.
Yeah, Titan Tryon had a whale of a game for Harrisburg. They were down 21-7 at halftime, came back, but could not complete the comeback in overtime as Jefferson wins it 28-21. Let us check out Pierre against Aberdeen Central out at Swisher Field. The Governors, we were wondering, how are they going to look without Lincoln Keatholtz at quarterback? But there's a reason they've won 6 straight championships, because they keep refueling, and Cade Kaiser looks to be the next great QB.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, Cade Kaiser's a great athlete. That is not a position of worry or need right now. And defensively, they stack a lot of returning starters, including Trey Lewis and some of these guys back on the team. I think they're going to be every bit as good, and I think they are about the same as they were last year as far as competitiveness, and the rest of the class maybe takes a half step back. So a great start for Cade Kaiser and the Govs tonight in Aberdeen.
See Jet Zabel there, he had a touchdown, 2 rushing touchdowns, 3 passing touchdowns for Cade Kaiser in a 32-0 shutout of Aberdeen Central. And you see Zabel with 2 receiving touchdowns. Cooper Terwilliger with a receiving touchdown as well.
How about that? Both those 2 are tight ends. Cooper Terwilliger just a freshman, but I'll tell you what, he's the next big thing to come into Pierre. And Jet Zabel, of course, going to NDSU. They got some D1 talent for sure on the Governors.
So a good start for the defending state champs up in Aberdeen. Number 1 in 11A, Del Rapids taking on Madison Dike. Mason Stubbe, by the way, scored on the very first play of the season, and the Couriers just took off from there. Here, Stubbe gets another touchdown run. That made it 30-7 Del Rapids, and they would pretty much go, put it on cruise control from there. Nice pass there, but it ends up actually getting picked off by Del Rapids. Nice interception by Aiden Garretts. And then Madison, they do get an interception here to end the half. Give the Bulldogs credit for competing throughout, but Del Rapids just built up this big lead and never really looked back. Here's Stubbe with his 3rd touchdown.
Yeah, Del Rapids was really able to start a lot further along than most teams in 11A. I think some teams might be able to catch up to them. Madison had a lot of starters back, but this Del Rapids team I mean, they started right where they left off with that championship last season.
And here's Cole Rusink capping things off with a touchdown run of his own, 35 yards, hurtling into the end zone. And your final from Del Rapids is 44-13. Del Rapids-Madison, it's been a great rivalry for so long, but the Couriers right now looking every bit the part of defending state champions.
Yeah, that's one of the number one teams that looked the part tonight, the Del Rapids Couriers getting off to a great start.
44-13 is your final. Good matchup in Canton. Number 3, Sioux Falls Christian. Number 4, Canton. Early highlights here. Check out this bulldozing run. Canton McCracken trucks a man. McCracken keeps on cracking all the way down the sidelines. That gets Canton on the board early.
They've got some studs on this team. A lot of strength, and he's definitely one of them. 2 possessions later, look at this. The little sly handoff on the kick return, and that's all he would take to take it all the way.
Taking it to the house. The fake handoff fools the defense. Canton, they built an early lead. McCracken is going to get another touchdown here, just bulldozing his way past the end pylon. 22-3. Canton with the lead early in the second quarter. But then, give Sioux Falls Christian credit. They scored just before the half. Lincoln Prince gets in.
They're going to do a lot more passing this year because of Lincoln Prince, but he shows off. He's a dual threat quarterback. He can run it in as well. And they didn't stop there. He shows the nice passing this time, getting it into Cade Van Egdom for the touchdown. And Sioux Falls Christian's right back in this. You can tell they're able to compete with a team like Canton.
That made it a 6-point game. That was a 4th down play, by the way, but Canton able to salt it away right here on the touchdown from Kane Wallner. Big 4th down run from the Seahawks, and a 30-16 final score as Canton defeats Sioux Falls Christian.
This Canton team's going to throw a little bit more than we're used to. They've got some tall receivers, but they still make it their main thing is to run the football, and Cannon McCracken is one of those guys who was running the football. We caught up with him after the game.
I was just super amped to get this game going. You know, it's first game of the season, you know, and I felt like I was in beast mode, so I just freaking broke all those tackles, and it means a lot to us. I mean, they were ranked ahead of us, and like the Argus, they predicted us to lose, so it feels really good to, like, you know, prove everybody wrong.
Everyone wants to prove the doubters wrong. Everyone.
First game of the season, they were ranked one spot below Sioux Falls Christian. So let's settle down on the disrespect. But I'll tell you what, Canton is a team that should be playing, you know, at or near the top of Class 11A all season long.
I tell you, every underdog team needs to get a sponsorship with Ruffles or Lay's for the chips on the shoulder.
That's right.
There are so many of them. You can take that idea for free, by the way, if you want a Ruffles or Lay's sponsorship. Too many chips on the shoulder. It's week 1, week 0. Come on.
Settle down, everybody. Settle down.
Settle down. Simmer down now. All right, let's keep going with the highlights. Lennox and Chamberlain tonight.
I was looking forward to this one. Boston Katzer for Lennox at quarterback. Cruz Solik for Chamberlain. 2 college-level quarterbacks here in this game.
Porter Enan with a touchdown there. That ties the game at 7. Still tied, Lennox driving. Katzer to Chase Falls. That puts the Orioles on top 14-7.
So smooth. This is just a junior. He had a great sophomore year at McCook Central last year. He, along with the head coach, came over to Lennox this year, and it looks like they didn't lose a step.
14 all. Check out this move. Staying on his feet. Look at that. Cats are scrambling, getting into the end zone. Lennox would convert the 2-point conversion, 22-14, and they would run away with this one. Chamberlain kept it close in the first half, but Lennox took advantage in the second half. Tristan Butler plunging in for the score. 42-29 is your final. Lennox over Chamberlain.
Big win for Lennox. As I said, it was close early. I think Chamberlain is a team that could stick around and compete with a lot of teams in 11A this year as well. But Lennox, they're putting their name right up there with the top teams in the class.
42-29, the Orioles over the Cubs. More highlights. Canastota Howard, again, a surprise in 9-man. Middle of the second quarter, Tage Ortman. Man, the Ortmans are just a dynasty in Canastota. He gets the touchdown run. Missed 2-point conversion, but it's 14-6 Hawks.
Yeah, they had some players back this year. They're going against Howard, a number 1 team in 9AA, and 9AA has so many good teams. You see Taden Hoyer right there. hooking up with the pass. They've got the running and the passing going well this year.
Jackson Remmers with the touchdown, but they're still down 14-12. Less than a minute, Canastota quick drive. Brandon Ketlin makes the touchdown catch. 2-point conversion good. 22-12, Canastota with the lead over Howard at halftime.
He looks like a tough man to stop. That is a load.
Midway through the third quarter, Howard grinds out a drive. Tate Miller short touchdown catch. Again, a missed 2-point conversion. 22-18 Canastota. Ensuing kickoff, though. Ty Doblar. 80 yards to the house.
You know, in close games like this, these are the type of play, the special teams plays that can make such a big difference. And last year, these two teams played a thriller going into overtime. And this year, another close one. But that play right there was the difference in really giving them enough cushion to win this game.
30-18. Remember, Howard was undefeated in the regular season in 9AA last season before they lost in the playoffs to Parkston. So an early season loss for the Tigers. They got to regroup a little bit.
Yeah, and 9AA is going to be so tough. There's going to be a couple undefeated teams in 9AA for sure. But definitely, Howard will still belong in the rankings.
More 9-man action in South Dakota. Phillip and Wall. Wall with the ball in Phillip territory. Burke Blasius. He's going to take it himself up the middle from 20 yards out.
Burke Blasius, maybe the biggest weapon of anybody in this class this year. He is a load to bring down. But this Phillip team, watch out. They're going to be good this year.
Lane Kirkenbecker drops back, throws it deep all the way down into the Wall red zone. A couple plays later, Leighton Turkleton fakes the handoff, scores from 2 yards out. 6-6. Right before the half, Wall moving the ball. Blasius to Dawson Hancock down inside the red zone for Wall. And on the very next play, Burke Blasius to Jace Blasius.
Well, last week, Burke went for 7 total touchdowns. He is the engine on this team, but helps when you have 2 Blasiuses.
Absolutely. So it's 12-6 Wall at halftime, but Phillip, they hold Wall scoreless in the second half. Turkleton gets another touchdown. And in the fourth quarter, Wall thrown it to the left side. Riker Peterson jumps the route, takes it back for the pick 6, and the defending 9AA champs fall in week 2.
You know, a pretty big looking upset on the outside. I'll tell you what, Phillip is a team I knew that could compete with a team like Wall. I didn't know they could beat him by 10, though. That's really a surprise win for me. But Phillip, no reason they can't compete with the top teams in their class.
The Scotties 2-0. The Eagles fall to 1-1. Great game between Gregory and Woolsey-Wessington, which we'll get to in a second. But first, Hamlin and Del Rapids St. Mary. First quarter, Tyson Stevenson. He's going to fumble the snap inside the 10, so it's unfortunately a turnover for Hamlin. But Del Rapids St. Mary's, they have to punt. They bobble the snap in the red zone. Those early season jitters getting the best of both teams. Hamlin would calm down from there. Stevenson, the 2-yard touchdown run here. And Hamlin would pretty much put it on cruise control. Stevenson, another touchdown keeper. This one from 4 yards out. That made it 14-0. Cardinals trying to keep pace a little bit. Tremere Hansen throws, but Stevenson makes a great interception. Can do it both ways, Jandy.
This Hamlin team is loaded with tall receivers, good running backs, and they don't even have their best player, Luke Frazier, who comes back in a few more weeks. They are going to be a really tough team in 9AA this year.
Jackson Wadsworth, 8-yard touchdown run, 21-0 at that point. Hamlin running away with it, 42-6 is your final over Del Rapids St. Mary's. Again, cross-class 9-man matchup, but Hamlin gets the best of DRSM.
Yeah, the 9AA, usually when they play cross-class matchups, they're usually the favorite. But we saw it can happen with Canastota taking out Howard this week. So it's a good, solid win for Hamlin to go on the road and get a 42-6 win.
42-6 is your final. Hamlin over Del Rapids St. Mary's. Plenty of action in South Dakota tonight, but when we come back, lots of stuff happening in North Dakota, including the game you saw right here on Midco Sports between West Fargo and Bismarck Century. Tom Neiman and Jody Norstedt will have a recap of that one, plus your other North Dakota highlights when we return on Varsity Sports Live.
Varsity Sports Live, presented by South Dakota State University. Build a better future with South Dakota State University. Varsity Sports Live, presented by Farmers Union Insurance. Simply different.
And welcome back to Varsity Sports Live. David Brown with Jason Andera. We went through South Dakota. Let's get a look at our scoreboard from North Dakota, and a whale of game that you saw right here on Midco Sports. 46-40, West Fargo losing to Bismarck Century. That was a 7-6 game last season. Jody Norstedt and Tom Beam will have a recap coming up very shortly. Fargo Shanley, number 1, 35-7 over Bismarck. Other scores from North Dakota include a top 5 quote-unquote upset. It's early, you never know how these rankings shake out, but Fargo Davies 20-9 over Mandan. West Fargo Cheyenne 41-7 over Bismarck Legacy. The Magicians from Minot, they get a shutout of St. Mary's 37-0. Fargo South 36-6 in a cross-class matchup with Williston. In AA, Grand Forks Red River, they topped the two-time defending state champs from Jamestown 33-28. Should have highlights of that one coming up here shortly. Fargo North 48-7 over Grand Forks Central. Dickinson, they top West Fargo Horace 28-6. Devils Lake with a 39-8 victory over Wahpeton. And actually that's backwards. Wahpeton had 39 and Devils Lake had 8. Velva, number 1, they win 40-13 over Beulah. Kindred, number 2, over the Tornadoes from Cavalier 41-12. Number 3, Dickinson Trinity all over Bishop Ryan 47-0. Slugfest out of Central Cass 7-0 over Oaks. The Squirrels over the Tornadoes. Langdon area Edmore Munich 50-12 over Harvey Wells County. Botno with a 36-14 win over Grafton. And in 9-man football for North Dakota, New Salem Almont, the Holsteins 30-0 over Hettinger Scranton. North Prairie 74-24 over Larimore. And West Hope Newburgh Glenburg 50-14 over TGU. South Border with a 49-26 victory over Napoleon GS. But as we mentioned, Jandy, if you watched any of the game tonight between West Fargo and Bismarck Century, a stark contrast to the rain-soaked Butterfinger 7-6 matchup we had last year.
Yeah, and last year, of course, Century got off to that terrible start and found their way back. Could they keep the winning ways going in this slugfest? Well, let's get right to the highlights and find out.
Yep, Jody Norstedt and Tom Neiman have more from the capital city.
All right, Jody, it turned into a shootout at the Community Bowl here tonight.
Yeah, a lot of points scored, complete opposite of what we saw last year, but a lot of spectacular performances, especially on the offensive side of the ball.
Check it out early on. This is Brady Medina, the quarterback this year for West Fargo. That was on 4th and 9. He goes to Tony Leal, and West Fargo goes up early 8-3, but Gavin Lill had a couple of touchdown runs. This was after a turnover by West Fargo, so it's 10-8, Century at the end of the quarter. Medina to Keaton McGregor, who was all over the field offensively.
Yeah, the younger brother of Peyton McGregor, who was so outstanding last season for the Packers, and younger brother, he looks pretty good tonight too.
Mike Twardowski was our Sandy's Donuts player of the game here tonight, the quarterback this year for Bismarck Century. Patriots go up 17-14 midway through the second quarter, and then 14 straight points to end the first half for Bismarck Century.
Yeah, and they were feeling pretty good about themselves, but the Packers come out with a good drive to start the third.
4th down throw again. Medina, his 3rd touchdown throw of the night. That again to McGregor. It's 24-20. Century spreads the lead back out again, though. Look at this throw from Twardowski to Rivers Martin. And the Patriots go up 31-20. And then West Fargo's going to come back here with a Leighton Hoffland touchdown run to make it 31-28 at the end of 3.
And they kind of caught Century off guard with the runs at times because the Packers were just passing the ball so much.
4th quarter, Twardowski to Oliver Jensen. It's a 10-point Bismarck Century lead again at 38-28. Back come the Packers. Medina with his 4th touchdown throw of the game. Coming up right here.
You thought with that 10-point lead, okay, Century's just going to, play ahead of the sticks, but what an outstanding catch. Keaton McGregor, way to use your head, gets back into the end zone for the 3rd touchdown, matching his jersey number.
Unbelievable catch. It was 38-34, and then West Fargo takes the lead here at 40-38 on another Hoffland touchdown run.
That came off that stop on defense, finally forced Century to punt, and they convert, but here comes Twardowski again.
Minute 30 to go. Twardowski puts Bismarck Century back up 46-40, and then an interception here late by Kane Nelson to sew it up for Bismarck Century, and the Patriots win at 46-40. Here is Bismarck Century after this win.
Oh, it was crazy. I mean, it was just electric. There's nothing quite like the Friday Night Lights, so it was just fun to go out there with my boys and compete against a really good West Fargo team, and we both battled, and there was a great offensive battle out there, and we just came out on top. And my boys, they had a great offensive squad. They were going down the field, completing those passes, and we just kind of had to stay calm, stay collected, and go out and execute. And that's what my line helped me. My line had great blocks, helped Gavin, helped our whole offense, and we just went down there and did what we could do.
Well, thank you for the recap, Tom and Jody. There you see the final again, 46-40, Bismarck Century over West Fargo. Just a fun game to open things up.
Yeah, and West Fargo wanted to move the ball through the air a little bit more this year with Brady Medina. That was a success for them. So coming across the state, playing a team like Century, and being competitive, good for the West Fargo Packers. And then the Patriots picking up right where they left off last year.
As you said, they started the season terribly last season, made a run to the Dome before falling, but a good start again for the Patriots this season. 46-40 is your final. Other matchups in North Dakota's biggest class. Number 1 Fargo Shanley hosting Bismarck. Those new black uniforms looking like Ohio State.
Sharp.
And they look sharp on that first drive. The pitch from Landon Meyer to Caden Chrisman hurtling into the end zone. That makes it 7-0 Fargo Shanley. And the Deacons looking to extend their lead later in the first. But this pass from Meyer is tipped and picked off by Bridger Owens. But unfortunately for Bismarck, they simply could not capitalize. Later in the first quarter, Meyer, he's just going to keep it himself up the middle. 14-0 Deacons after the first quarter, and they would go on to win this one 35-7 is your final. So the number 1 team in AAA off to a good start, Jandy.
Yeah, and that's what they had to do, come out and beat a team like Bismarck. Last year, Bismarck, of course, went winless for the first time in school history. Wanted to get off to a little better start, but Shanley's a tough order to start the season.
And thanks to our friends at KVLY for those highlights. More matchups in North Dakota Class AAA. Just down the road, top 5 matchup between number 3 Mandan, number 5 Fargo Davies. Eagles up 7-2. Braves trying to fight out of it. Davies defense not letting up. Andre Work with the wraparound sack. That forces a Mandan punt. You've heard of the butt fumble? Oh, we got a butt punt. Luke Lorenz. Call him Johnny Lorenz because he's on the spot for the return. What do you think of that,
I
Jody?
guess that's what you have to do when things blow up like that. You got to make the most out of it.
14-2 Fargo Davies. Defense would be critical late in the half as well. This drive by Mandan stopped just before the half, so it stays 14-2 Fargo Davies at the break. And number 5 tops number 3. 20-9 is your final. The Eagles over the Braves.
Of course, the Eagles came into the season missing Mason Claybo, hoping that he would be the star on the team this year. Out due to injury, but still able to get a big win over a ranked team.
Fargo Davies at Cheyenne next week, while Mandan will play Bismarck Century. Top 5 matchup between Grand Forks Central and Fargo North tonight. Midway through the first quarter, watch this run by Peter Haugo, the future NDSU Bison, rolling like a buffalo on the open plains, 58 yards to the end zone.
It's just so smooth with those long strides. I wouldn't want to get in front of him.
7-0 Spartans. Next drive for Grand Forks Central. They're forced to punt. Fargo North with a block. Watch big 65. Brady Fossen. The old Chris Berman rumbling, bumbling, stumbling into the end zone. Gotta love a big guy touchdown.
And to complete it like that guy did all those workouts this summer for a reason.
Fargo North just dominating in all 3 phases. Haugo gets the pitch and his second touchdown, 21-0 at that point, and the Spartans, they would cruise to a 48-7 victory over Grand Forks. Central gave Tandy the lone touchdown for the Knights, but Peter Haugo, you see why he's going to NDSU.
Well, you got the preseason player of the year in Peter Haugo. You got 10 returning starters on both sides of the ball. No wonder they're the number 1 team, but sometimes when you're ranked number 1, you got a lot of pressure. They proved it tonight.
48-7 Fargo North over Grand Forks Central. More highlights. Jamestown, Grand Forks, Red River. Red River is already up 7-0, and they are going to add to it. Pierce Parks to Hayden Hong, 21-yard touchdown. Nice catch in the end zone. Red River with a 14-0 lead over the 2-time defending state champs. They're up 21-7 at halftime, midway through the third quarter. Parks bobbles the snap, but he recovers on the run to his opposite side. He finds Hong again. It's 27-7 Grand Forks Red River. But here's where things start to get interesting. You got a 20-point lead, but you know the defending state champs are going to battle back. Ryan Kallenbach takes it himself, 42-yard rushing touchdown.
Jamestown, last year won the Dakota Bowl. Still have a lot of talent back. Pierce Parks played a good role tonight to find a way to get Red River the lead in this one, but Jamestown not backing down.
Callenbeck can do it on the ground. He can do it in the air, too. Nate Walls, 49-yard touchdown, 27-21. The lead is cut to 6. But less than 2 minutes to go in the game. Jamestown is in front. But Parks to Zach Elke. Great catch into the end zone. That puts Red River back in front with 1:08 to go. And they hold on for the upset. Again, it's a great matchup, but Jamestown, the two-time defending state champions, they were up 28-27. They battled all the way back from 20 points down, but Grand Forks gets the win.
A great game here. Last week, Red River had a 10-hour round trip to Williston, and they stole a win. They look much better this week. Let's hear from the Red Raiders. The Rough Riders.
We obviously went up first half. We scored 4 straight. Second half, we came out slow. It showed. They ran on a great run. At the end of the game, the last 2 minutes, they punched one in, and we just told our guys, got to keep our head up. We practiced for the 2-minute drill, so went out and showed it. It's great. It shows we can win. It shows we're a good team this year. So moving on to the next.
And just a great win and the right attitude, too, because they also knew that they could have put this game away maybe a little bit easier, but that's what Jamestown, a defending champion, does. They battle back from 20 down, but Red River had the wherewithal to say, hey, we took the counterpunch, now let's finish it.
I think a lot of that comes from Pierce Parks. I think he's going to give them another level of confidence this year at quarterback, and you can see what the receivers can do when the ball's put in the right spot.
And you know Jamestown's going to bounce back, but obviously a big win for Grand Forks Red River. You call them the Red Raiders? Red Raiders, Rough Riders.
Rough Riders.
Either way, they get the victory.
A lot of nicknames
colors,
around
a lot
the
of
Dakotas.
nicknames.
We're
all
doing
over
our
the
best
place
here, but we're no Jody Norstedt.
Exactly. Rough Riders with the victory over the Blue Jays, 33-28. Let's look at some more highlights from North Dakota. Kindred and Cavalier tonight. Number 2 Kindred. Vikings got off to a hot start in this one. Cavs go 3 and out. Kylan Swenson plunging in for the short touchdown, but that puts the Vikings up 7-0 early. And then on the ensuing kickoff, after the kickoff, J.J. Thorpe is going to take it for the Tornadoes. And he coughs up the ball right around here, and look who recovers it. Oh, the guy who just scored a touchdown, it's Swenson. Snatches it midair. How about back-to-back offensive and special teams touchdowns, Jandy?
You see that not very often, Dave. We don't see that very often.
I don't know, someone scoring on 2 consecutive plays in 2 different phases. That's pretty remarkable. Vikings not done. 4th and long. Jake Starsvich hits Hunter Bindus. Goes up, hauls it in. A nice catch to keep the drive alive. And then later on, Owen Hoym takes it in on the ground. All Vikings early.
I think there's a pass.
21-0. Yeah.
That's one of those drop passes. Give him the touchdown pass.
The touchdown pass. We'll have to let the official statisticians rule on that one. But yeah, I agree with you. I think we'll take it as a pass. Cavalier just could not make things happen tonight. Kindred defense was sharp. Oh, look, it's Swenson again. He's got an offensive touchdown, a special teams touchdown, and an interception.
Game ball?
Game ball?
Game ball?
We're going to nominate him for
Make
a game
lobby.
ball.
Make a little lobby action toward a game ball. That was an impressive performance. 2-0 start for Kindred. Last week got a big win over Central Cass, and today with another big win over Cavalier.
41-12 is your final, Kindred over Cavalier. Vikings over the Tornadoes. Oaks and Central Cass over in Castleton. This one was a defensive battle throughout the entire game. Action in the second quarter, less than a minute to play. Braden Mitchell looking for a man downfield, but he overthrows it. It's picked off by Blason Dolney. And we'll hear his name again soon because he's going to try and get the offense turning for the Oaks team. Next possession, less than a minute to go before half. Dolney finds Trey Skoglund for a big gain downfield, still fighting all the way down into the turf. Tornadoes moving the chains. Could Dolney make another big play on offense? Steps up, launching another one downfield, but unfortunately not this time. Peyton Lamar gets the pick for Central Cass. It was a 0-0 game, scoreless at the half, but Central Cass gets a late second half touchdown to win a slugfest 7-0. Sometimes you just have those games.
And that late second half touchdown to give them the win were their first points of the season. So a huge way to get on the scoreboard, not only getting on the board, but getting the win over Oaks, as Central Cass should stay in the rankings with that win.
7-0, Squirrels over the Tornadoes. Beulah and Velva, number 1 ranked Velva, the Aggies' first home game in more than 30 years without Larry Sandy coaching. Miners receive the opening kickoff, make it all the way downfield. Ronan Klindworth diving in for the score. Beulah actually held on to the ball for the first 11 minutes of the game. That's a way to play keep away.
How do you even do that?
You move very, very slowly. But Velva's first play on offense, Ben Shep, Kyle Volson across the middle. and the tight end breaks free, finally brought down by Attican Backus. That sets up the Aggies to start the second quarter because, well, they got the ball with a minute left in the first quarter. Shep takes the snap, touch pass to Trey Egelhart, shakes off a few, scampers in. That ties the game at 6. Beulah was actually leading this one 6-0. Aggies get the ball back in the red zone. The pitch to Hank Bodine, and the tank just shakes off multiple defenders into the end zone.
Hank
the Tank. We can have Frank the Tank and we can have Hank the Tank. And number 1 Velva, they easily stay on top. They have not lost to the Miners since 1979. As we get a look at our final score here from Velva and Beulah, 40-13 is your final. They should stay number 1 with a 2-0 record.
They're going to be tough to beat with their junior quarterback, Ben Shep. Last season as a sophomore, 41 total touchdowns. I think they're in good hands and in good shape in Class A.
Aggies over the Miners tonight. Dickinson Trinity and Bishop Ryan at Herb Parker Stadium in Minot. Trinity ranked number 3. Trinity up big to start the second half, but on 4th down, Bishop Ryan's defense forces a turnover on downs. Bowden Irk blows up the play. But this Titans defense was pretty special tonight on this play. Watch number 7, Ty Dassinger on the edge, sheds a block, sniffs out the play in the backfield. The Lions would be forced to punt. Senior quarterback Jace Kovash, he had a night. Play action keeper here, and that jersey will be absolutely spotless. Not a hand on him till he gets to the end zone. 6 more to for the Titans. And Trinity, they go up to Minot, and they shut out the Lions on their home turf as we get a look at our final score. 47-0, the Titans over the Lions.
Yeah, Kovash, 4 touchdowns last week, gets his team to 47 points this week. I think Dickinson Trinity looking like the contender that they are.
Lots of stuff still coming up here on Varsity Sports Live. When we come back, we'll do a little zone coverage. Maybe have some more highlights for you. You're watching the season premiere of VSL on Midco Sports.
Varsity Sports Live, presented by South Dakota State University. Build a better future with South Dakota State University.
And welcome back to Varsity Sports Live. David Brown, Jason Andera. Let's get to some extended highlights from what was the game of the night in South Dakota that you were at. Let's get right to them. Number 4, Sioux Falls Jefferson, and number 2, Harrisburg, a rematch of the 11 AAA state championship from last season. First quarter, 4th and 9, Sam Knuth, first touchdown of his career to Titan try.
A lot of 4th downs in this game, but that was a big one to start confidence-wise for Sam Knuth.
Ethan Swenson responds for Jefferson, the new QB, to Dawson Sexer, taking it the distance, 7-7.
That was a nice play action fake by the junior in his first start. Gets the touchdown to Dawson Sexer.
Remember, replacing the great Talon Ashley. Second quarter, Davion Simonson, hard 9-yard touchdown run, 14-7 Cavs.
He didn't get a lot of touches, but when he did, he made some nice runs. I think he'll get some more ball carries next week.
Third quarter now, Swenson to dump off to Thomas Heiberger, the future Wisconsin Badger, burrowing his way to the end zone.
And right before I got this shot, he just threw up. He was playing both ways, playing hard and getting it done.
So Harrisburg down 2 touchdowns on their home field, but they come back. It's Knuth to try on again, 21-14 with 9 minutes left. Harrisburg has it back. Knuth firing. That's a 4th down to Cale Morton for a first down, son of Augie A.D. Josh Morton. And then Knuth, he was cramping a bit, so Max Carlson comes in, throws the try on his 3rd touchdown.
Yeah, the little fake run and then dumps it over the top. And so under 2 minutes left, they found a way to tie this game up.
They would go to overtime. In OT, 4th and goal.
Another
Sexer, the direct snap, gets into the end zone.
That was huge on 4th down. And then Harrisburg had the ball on 3rd down. Heiberger back in there again, gets the huge sack, forcing a 4th down and long. Just a little bit too long. And pass was broken up by Evan Haug, and the Jefferson Cavaliers find a way to lose the lead, come back and get the lead in overtime, and continue their winning streak.
The question, obviously, we knew the Sioux Falls Jefferson team was going to be different, but the question was, are they going to take a step back from that great championship team? They showed some grit and some mettle, even giving up the lead. Credit to Harrisburg for coming back as well, but the Cavaliers, they still got some veterans from that championship team, and they came through. Sexer, Haug, and Heiberger in particular.
And they're hearing the talk around, and Vince Benedetto talked about that, how maybe people outside the team don't have as much confidence in them, but in the huddle, they definitely do.
You know, we talked yesterday, as weird as it is, I talked about Lion King and just the scar and that voice in the back of your head that's telling you you're not good enough. And that's what they've been hearing on the outside. But we talk about in our group, we believe in ourselves, we believe in our coaches, and we feel like we can be a pretty good team this year. So there was a lot of doubt that crept in the end of the game, and I know the kids heard it, but they battled and continued to fight for each other, and it was pretty awesome to see them come out on top.
And what's nice to see, again, as he talked about, it's not so much that you won the game. It's that you gave up the lead and you didn't, get in your sorrows and get in your feelings. You made sure to withstand it and find a way to win.
I didn't know what to expect in this game. You had two junior quarterbacks getting basically their first start with their teams. Both looked impressive at times. Both look like they're going to need a little bit of maturation at times. But this is the new 11 AAA. I think all these ranked teams in 11 AAA, we're going to have battles like this all season long. It is dead even right now.
28-21 Jefferson over Harrisburg in overtime tonight. Another great game out in 9-man. Number 3 Woolsey-Wessington hosting number 1 Gregory. First quarter, first drive of the game, Woolsey-Wessington sophomore Caleb Richmond to Moshe Richmond for an 8-yard touchdown. 8-0 Warbirds, Jandy.
These two Richmonds have gotten some playing time in the past, but this year I think they're going to take a huge step up and be weapons.
Gorillas would have an immediate response on their next couple drives, starting with a 4-yard touchdown run by Gannon Thomas, first of his 2 touchdowns on the evening. We are tied at 8.
Gregory has some leaders, but overall they're a much younger team than last year's championship team.
Ryland Peck to Luke Stukel. Deep ball, 37 yards, puts the Gorillas in front 14-8. But the Warbirds would answer back. This is just a fun back-and-forth battle. Richmond to Colin Hughes, 36 yards. We are tied at 14 in the second.
A little sidearm scoop. And Woolsey-Wessington showing that they belong with a team like Gregory.
Late in the second, next Warbird possession, they go to the ground. Tate French takes the
guy,
counter all the way to the end zone.
This guy is a player. He is a Warbird. He is a guy that you can give it to in the air. You can give it to on the ground, and one of the best defensive players in 9A.
28-20 Woolsey-Wessington at the break. French would make an impact on the other side as well. He recovers this fumble after the sack of Colin Hughes. And then after the turnover, Gabriel Case, 10-yard touchdown. Woolsey-Wessington up 34-20.
Lots of different weapons. Love to see that they're moving the ball through the air, on the ground, and playing great defense.
Richmond, Peyton Rainford, another touchdown. Warbirds put up 48 points on the defending state champions. 48-32 is your final, and we mentioned it earlier with Wall losing the Phillip, the 9AA champions from last year lose. 48-32, Gregory, the 9A champions lose. Hitchcock-Tulare, the 9B champions, they got shut out by Fulton tonight, 40-0. When we did our preseason show, pretty much everyone we talked to in 9-man said it's going to be a crapshoot this year.
And that is really bared out in just the first 2 weeks. And there's some really hungry teams, really good teams, like Woolsey-Wessington, who had some players take a huge step up, and it was fun to watch them tonight.
Yeah, we heard from them afterwards.
It just took hard work. Ending our season, we were thinking about that whole time when we put in extra work, when we stayed after practice on the summers, and I feel like that really pushed us last season. That really pushed us for the win. We talked about coming into the game with confidence. If we start off scared, it probably would have been a lot closer. So, yeah, we just had to buckle down.
Yeah, after they beat us last year, we blew up that score. We posted in the weight room, and these guys have been in the weight room. They've been out here working, and we've just been preparing for this. We know Gregory is one of the top teams in our division. We want to get to the top. We just knew we had to be ready for these guys. We talked all week about it just being a battle. It always is with these guys. It doesn't matter if one team is better than the other. It's always going to be a battle. So we were just prepared for that, kept our composure, and ended up with the win.
And a good attitude there. They know what Gregory means, and they know what Gregory was last season. Woolsey-Wessington, they came in ranked number 3. It's not like they were a pushover by any means, but they know if they want to be the champs, they got to beat the champs, and that goal was accomplished tonight.
And Gregory also knows that they play an extremely tough schedule they're going to make the playoffs, and games like this are just going to push them to get better toward the end of the year, too. We could see these two teams play again somewhere down the road.
Absolutely. And as we mentioned, with all these 9-man champs losing early in the season, we're going to kind of test that mettle and see if they have that championship DNA, as coaches like to call it, because they knew they were going to be the hunted teams this year instead of the hunters.
And trust me, I ask all the coaches, who do you think is going to be good this year? And I would get so many different answers that most people would just say, well, let's just go with the champion until they're beaten. That's why Gregory came in as the #1 team, and a team like
Wall
comes in as a #2 team, and Hitchcock-Tulare comes in as #1 team, because nobody really knew. And we're seeing right off the bat here what Canastota could do, what a team like Woolsey-Wessington can do.
Phillip can do.
And what Phillip can do. That's another team. And then in 9B, we're still waiting for somebody to emerge. Maybe it's Faulkton with that big win that they had against Hitchcock-Tulare tonight. Maybe they're the team that moves up to #1 in the 9B rankings next week. We'll see.
Yeah, well, they came in at #4. We'll see if it can vault them all the way to #1, but a 40-0 win on the road is pretty impressive for Fulton area. As we continue on with our zone coverage, quote unquote, we talked about Grand Forks Red River and their big win over the 2-time defending champions from Jamestown tonight, withstanding a comeback attempt by the Blue Jays.
Yeah, this is a team that's been growing and getting a little bit better every year, and this year feels like they can really fight and play with some of the best, and we caught up with them afterwards.
Pierce scrambled around for a couple that really changed the field on us there, and we were able to preserve a little bit of clock that way. So I really think our first game experience, having that opportunity to win the way we did against Williston, really factored into the end of the game there. Would we have liked to have been in that position to have maybe not had to do that again? The old ball coach here would have really enjoyed that, but that's not the way it was. But hey, our kids battled. We got a win against a very good program, and it's just a great feeling for our kids. I'm proud of them.
And yeah, you should be proud of them. Again, the ebbs and flows and the back and forth, there's a reason they got a 20-point lead. There's also a reason they gave it up, but there's also a reason they got the win in the end.
Exactly. And they've got some studs on that team, and I think those guys really rose their game up tonight to play with a team like Jamestown, so they should be proud for sure.
Hats off to Grand Forks Red River. We will put a bow on things when we come back on Varsity Sports Live, wrap up the big storylines. Final thoughts. We'll preview a couple of games on Saturday as well. You're watching VSL on Midco Sports.
Varsity Sports Live, presented by Farmers Union Insurance. Simply different.
And welcome back to Varsity Sports Live. Dave Brown, Jason Andera. Got a big game on Saturday here locally. The Dakota Bowl, Brandon Valley and O'Gorman. Should be a good one.
Both ranked, and we saw tonight what can happen when you have two ranked teams playing to each other in 11 AAA. We had overtime. This could be the same thing. Of course, last year at this time, Brandon came in ranked higher, O'Gorman barely in the rankings, and O'Gorman came out and beat him 55-20.
That's
and
right.
I remember talking to some of the Brandon Valley Lynx, a week or so ago during camp, and all of them kind of remembered that score, and they feel like they're in a much better position at this point than they were at this point last year. So I think Brandon Valley has a lot of confidence coming in. Both teams have a new starting quarterback. You got Jack Thuey for Brandon Valley, who's had some experience throwing the ball, but this is his first year really as the starter. And then you got Hayden Gross throwing the ball for O'Gorman, a guy who hopes to distribute it to some really good skill position players for O'Gorman.
Yeah, they got Ryland Sadler, they got Henry Theobald, both of them going to be playing at the FCS level next season. And then as you mentioned for Brandon Valley, the injuries, especially to their skill guys last year, kind of decimated that team a little bit, but they're healthy, and as you mentioned, they're determined as well.
And their offensive line is huge. Navarro Shunke, they missed the entire season last year due to injury. He's probably the biggest prospect we have in this state right now. He leads a line that's 6'4" and over. Everybody's about 270. They're going to be big up front. O'Gorman's small up front, so big contrast there. But both teams will use those differences to their advantage.
So that'll be a fun game on Saturday. Biggest headline from North Dakota, obviously, Grand Forks Red River with the victory over Jamestown, the 2-time defending state champions. We've covered that. And then just seeing the Bismarck Century game against West Fargo on Iyer. That was just a fun game. Great job by Tom Neiman and Jody Norstedt up in Bismarck calling that one, but just a fun way to kick off the season up in North Dakota.
That was a lot of fun. And then, of course, in South Dakota, the big news, we had Jefferson extending their winning streak in overtime over Harrisburg, and then we had several other fun wins. We had a couple #1s lose, and Howard going down. In 9-man football, we had chaos with Hitchcock-Tulare losing, Gregory losing, Wall losing. So the rankings will be a lot of fun this week as we try to pick up the pieces and decide who to vote number one. I think right now I would have to go with Faulkton in 9B. In 9A, Woolsey-Wessington looks like that team. Maybe they jumped Warner, and then in 9AA, I think Hamlin maybe is going to be my vote for number one.
I was going to say with both Wall and Howard losing, yes, the top two teams in 9AA, we're going to see a lot of shifting, especially in those 9-man.
I got a lot of studying to do. Let's put it that way.
We both have a lot of studying to do when it comes to that. But again, season premiere of Varsity Sports Live, week 1, week 0 for some teams. Just a lot of fun, a lot of chaos. You want to do it again next week?
Let's do it again, and we'll also be back with the Rushmore Bowl next week from Saturday for some live football from South Dakota.
Absolutely. We got college football coming up tomorrow, NAIA. It's the Chamber of Commerce Traveling Trophy. Dakota State, Dakota Wesleyan live from Mitchell tomorrow at 7 p.m. That should be a fun one. For Tom Neiman, Jody Norstedt, Jason Andera, I'm David Brown. Thanks to our entire production crew. We will see you next week on Varsity Sports Live.